Oh, yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, 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 way down in the back.
Hey,
John Jones
we are live.
is the GOAT.
John Jones is the GOAT. Yeah, he is.
Welcome
Look
to
at
the
you
LSU
talking about
podcast.
UFC. What is this?
Hey.
What is this?
Hey, look, UFC 285 got me hooked. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you need to start watching because there's a lot of more. There's several
I
good
started.
fights on the way.
Yes, I know. I started with the Cody Gambrandt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name. Cody Gambrandt in the prelims. That was the last.
Gamrot, yes.
That was the last fight of the prelims.
Yes.
Watched all of the main card. Got to be honest, Reagan. Got to be honest. The Rachmanov fight was the best fight of the night for men's. The best fight of the night, though, was Grasso and Valentino.
It was a very good fight. I mean, because of the upset. I mean,
Yes, it's the best fight of the night. Upset, great fight. So she submitted her, dodged the I don't know how spinning back kick.
Yeah.
Immediately was on top of her.
Yep.
Submitted her. Awesome. Phenomenal. And then the Rachmanov fight, dude, that dude's a cold-blooded killer, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Bo Nickel.
I've been knocking on. Okay, look, let me tell you about Bo Nickel, Zach. I've been knocking on Bo Nickel for a while now. I watched Bo Nickel back on the Dana White Contender Series. I watched both of his fights. But of course, this was his debut, and you don't hardly ever see a guy get his debut main card.
Yeah.
Bo Nickel is that special. He has now in his 3 fights with the UFC, 2 on the Contender Series, and of course his fight on Saturday has finished in the first round. All 3 fights by submission. He's a freak. He is a freak athlete. Some people may know him back from his Penn State days. National champion wrestler at Penn State. He was the Big Ten, not wrestler of the year. He was the Big Ten male athlete of the year. Dude's a freak of nature, and for him to go in there and handle Pickett the way he did on his debut, look, he didn't get his first 2 fights. He got a finish within the first minute. Less than a minute, he had finished the fight.
Yeah.
He did not finish it in less than a minute on Saturday.
2.5.
It was like 2.5 minutes, but he had gotten within his position to get the submission and was holding it there in less than a minute. And he stayed there for the next 2 minutes until the dude finally tapped. He had to adjust his guard a little bit to finally get the full squeeze, and when he did, it was over. I mean, the dude just is a freak. So, I am so pumped for Leon and Usman, the trilogy in 02. Zach, I'm telling you right now, if you thought that was fun in Vegas, over in England, in London, England, when they go to the O2, it is freaking lit. I'm telling you, them UK people, they know how to have freaking fun, and they know how to make an environment electric. I am telling you right now, the O2 arena, when they go there, is amazing. The last time they went there was when Meatball Molly and Patty Pimblett fought, and the oh man, his last name starts with an A. I can't remember. I think it's Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades were fighting in the main event. Dude, O2 is lit. And they love their fighters. So Leon, the hometown boy, obviously deserves to have a fight to maintain his belt against Usman in his home country, and it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait for that. A lot of people think that Usman's going to come out there and absolutely dominate. I'm not writing that off. I think that's definitely possible, but I want Leon to win again because that last fight with Leon was just movie. I mean, you could make a movie out of it. It was just so fantastic.
Movie-esque. A lot of people saying, he was kind of lucky, though, because Usman had beat up on him for 4.
Oh, my gosh. If I hear someone say one more stinking time that it is a lucky kick, I'm going to lose my mind. The dude, he set the kick up the entire freaking 5th round. I've heard people say it was a lucky shot enough. Leon picked his tail up after the 4th round, decided he was going to do something about it, set the jab up the entire round. He fakes with the jab, goes with the hook. Usman leans, and he drop kicks him. It was clearly set up. It was not luck. And I know, Zach, you're new to UFC and may not understand that and have heard people say it's luck. Do not listen to the dummies who say it's luck.
Listen. I mean, the dude landed a kick. I mean,
that's what you're supposed to do. You either win by decision or win by knockout.
He didn't just throw his leg out there and was hoping that he connected with the dude's face.
Exactly.
He threw the kick intentionally on purpose. That's not lucky. That's strategy.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Sounds like you have a brain between your ears. Golly. It is lucky.
Might have to get some of our friends to listen in to the first part of this.
Kenny's one of them.
We're going to have to move on probably here to LSU. Great UFC card, though.
Yes, absolutely. It was great. And John Jones, he's the GOAT. That was amazing. I'm telling you right now, Ciryl Gane is an athletic freak, and to see him get manhandled like that, it blew my mind. It really did, because Ciryl Gane has absolutely dissected a few heavyweight guys. So that was very impressive. Yeah. Zach, 2 things about LSU before we get into the weekend recap that we need to mention, 2 brief things. I'll start with, I guess they're both positive news, so I'll start with the less positive of the 2. A while back, there was a report that came out that Malik Neighbors had been arrested on a weapons charge in New Orleans, and I mean, things have worked out. The charge has been dropped. Brian Kelly made mention today that he will not miss any game time, and that the discipline of the action will be within the team, and they will do that within the team. So he will not miss any game time. So that's awesome. That's phenomenal. Obviously, you don't want a guy like Malik Neighbors missing any game time. And I don't know the circumstances around what happened. I don't know why he had the gun or anything. I'm guessing it was he had it illegally. But look, dude, you're down in New Orleans. If I'm down in New Orleans, I'm probably going to be strapped too. So I get it, but do it legally. They're going to handle it within the charges have been dropped. Great news. And he will not miss any game time. So really, really glad to hear that about LSU's star receiver this next season. The other great news, Zach, I know you've seen it today. Mason Lunsford, the Maryland O-line transfer, has committed to LSU. It's really great news. Zach, this guy has started the last 2 seasons at Maryland at the left guard position. He started all 13 games this year at left guard as well. So you really needed some depth. You kind of traded off with Maryland. You sent Dumerville up to Maryland, and you got Lunsford back. So you kind of traded off there with Maryland with O-lineman. You needed some depth. So really glad to have him as well. Zach, baseball weekend. It was a full weekend. Lots of games, obviously.
Which I loved.
Yeah, absolutely. I always love watching the games. And it was Zach, I think this was a very successful weekend for LSU for multiple reasons, but I'll let you kind of give your thoughts and share your thoughts first.
Yeah. So first, again, before we get right into that, you also had two players that committed for the 2024 class.
Yes.
And the famous YouTuber Destroying went on a visit to LSU, which you can go check on his YouTube.
Yeah, that was
pretty
awesome.
cool. I haven't gotten to watch it yet, but I plan on watching it pretty soon after this. So those are just a couple other tidbits. So, you know, a lot of people already know about that, but those were interesting things from this week. From this weekend, yeah, gotta love what you saw from the baseball team. They really just went out and they did what they were supposed to do. But what was major positives from this weekend is you saw the strikeouts go down, which has become a concern, especially it started against Texas, kind of trickled in. It started the weekend before, was really bad at Texas. Friday night against Butler, it was bad as well. So you're like, oh boy, here we go again with the strikeouts. They had 11 strikeouts on Friday night. So began to get concerned about the strikeouts, but then really the rest of the weekend didn't have any issues with it. They walked 27 times. They struck out 23 times on the weekend. So really, really good job by the baseball team to kind of come back this weekend. And I get it, a lot lesser opponent. And teams threw lefties at LSU because LSU struggles to hit lefties. Graverson for Butler on Friday night did a really good job to start the game.
Yeah, it did.
LSU's bats eventually broke through, as they started to be able to get down his timing, because his fastball was like, I think mid 80s, something like that. Yeah. So for them to be able to kind of work through that, it was weird. It was awkward having to deal with that lefty that tops out at mid 80s, but they worked through that. They hit, and not only did they hit, but you saw guys that were in some slumps get out of slumps and begin to hit. You saw guys that kind of emerge themselves, right? So guys that hit out of slumps, right? Trey Morgan, Tommy White specifically. Those two specifically really had a phenomenal weekend. Tommy White seems like he burst onto the scene, especially on Saturday. So those were two guys that you love to see. Guys that kind of came onto the scene. Obviously, the biggest of them all was Kay Beloso. And, we got to a point where we were screaming on I think it was Saturday or maybe it was Sunday. No, I think it was Sunday. Hey, get this man a start. Start this man. Unfortunately, Bear Jones is, kind of the, I guess you would say, casualty of the weekend. You didn't see him have a great weekend.
He's having a flump himself.
Bryce Collins is kind of one of those guys, too. Yeah. Didn't have a great week. Outside of those two guys not having a great weekend, everybody else looked great. I know Griffin Herring kind of struggled some too, but everybody else looked phenomenal. Guys came out of slumps. Guys emerged. Another guy that emerged was, as we've talked about, Ethan Frey. And I don't want to talk a whole lot about this weekend because I know there's already been a lot of other platforms that have done so, but you run ruled everybody pretty much. I know on Friday night they didn't run rule. And then eventually all the away teams were like, okay, let's do run rule.
We'll do the run rule.
Thank goodness they did, or else they would have been playing games and I understand why Jay Johnson wants to do that. He wants to get some more guys involved. But I want to share our text from last night. So Reagan decides to hit me up after the ball game. And if Reagan ever texts me individually, like it's just me and him, I know he's super serious because we have conversations and group messages and We have like these LSU text threads that we're talking with people about, and just sharing general knowledge of the game and stuff like that.
Right.
But when we want to get serious, like me and Reagan text each other. So Reagan hits me up last night, excuse me. And first off, he mentions the Kling and Neal. Those were also some guys that kind of broke out this weekend, which I have to agree. You've been going for the last few weekends. You've been saying, who is going to be that other outfielder? We know we've got Trey right now. We know we've got Dylan Cruz. Who's going to be that other outfielder, especially right now while Tommy White is still out and Trey is filling in a left? Who's going to be that guy? And Paxton Kling made a massive statement this weekend.
Oh, huge.
And I have to agree with you. Neal has very clearly solidified the catcher spot. It's very, very evident that Neal is your starting catcher. No questions asked. Only time you're going to see Milazzo is when they need to sub in for a substitute or defensive substitution. That's the only reason you're going to see Milazzo, because Brady Neal.
If you have a lead at the end of the game, you'll probably see him.
You'll probably exactly
7, 8, 9,
defensive
30.
substitution, get the game over with. They both hit home runs this weekend, which was awesome. So me and Reagan are talking about all this, and we start typing. I see he's typing. He probably sees I'm typing, and literally at the same moment, we sit without asking each other. At the exact same moment, we send our ideal lineups, which we kind of tweeted at, I think, on Sunday, but we didn't ask for it. We didn't prompt it. Reagan just starts typing. He sends his ideal lineup. I started typing. Literally, like, he sends his, and within 2 seconds, I send mine. And then I scroll back up because he had sent a message. I'm like, this man literally just sent me his ideal lineup, and I just sent him the same thing. So I'm like, let me go through and see what he said. Not only did we have everybody exact, but in the DH spot, we both listed 3 names. We both listed them in the exact same order. And we also listed, which we didn't really give a batting lineup, but we listed them in the exact same order. So exact same thing. Let me tell y'all what we listed. Okay. So this is me and Reagan's. We are 100% on this. 100%. You can't be more 100%. So our ideal lineup moving forward, and yes, moving forward, even when Tommy White comes back. Okay. Yes. I need to state that preference. Yes. I need to state that, because when y'all hear who our left fielder is, you're gonna be like, wait a minute, what? In left field, Trey Morgan.
Yeah.
Yes. Even when Tommy White is healthy, put Trey Morgan in left.
Yes.
He is probably one of your best outfielders. I think he might be your second best outfielder right now.
I'd say Kling is better outfielder.
Kling, but
in terms of defense,
athletically, probably.
I'm not saying Trey is lesser than him, but I mean, in terms of like what you're looking for in an outfielder, and like probably Kling. Okay, so Trey has done excellent.
I'll go a little bit broader. Trey is your one of the 3 best outfielders.
Yes.
And so he should be out there. He should be out there regardless.
Yes.
He's one of the top 3 outfielders in this lineup right now, on this team right now. Experience wise, like he's top 3. So we listed Trey Morgan at left field. Center field, you already know, Dylan Cruz. Right field, this is our ideal lineup moving forward. Paxton Kling and right. Third base, Tommy White when he's healthy. Shortstop, Jordan Thompson. Second base, Dugas. First base, Cade Beloso, who is hitting. He's on fire right now. He's on fire right now.
He had 2 hits last night.
He gets a start. What does he do? He immediately comes up and hits a RBI single.
He got on base 3 times. Got plunked once too.
He got plunked once. Got 2 singles. He did what you're the other the one out that he had was pretty close. If I remember correctly, I think the shortstop or the third baseman kind of had to make a play.
Yeah,
there.
Yes, they did. It was going up the middle, but it was kind of a slow roller, so he was able to get there.
Yeah. So Beloso at first, Neal at catcher, and then we both listed 3 guys for DH. But both of us listed Ethan Frey first.
Yeah.
Then Jones, then Joe Bear. So it's very clear from the Tigers Avenue who we would love to see moving forward in this lineup. Now, that's not exact batting order. That's just who we want to see on the field and be in the batting lineup.
Yeah.
That's who we want out there. And I think, after you watch this weekend, I don't know how you can get around. Maybe you put Joe Bear in left, and then you move Neal Morgan to first base. But then, and then you put Beloso at DH, maybe. I'd be okay with that as well. I'm not arguing that. You put Beloso at DH, you put Joe Bear in the outfield, and then you put Morgan back at first. That's fine too. These are just the people that I want, but I really want to see Ethan Frey get some more at bats. I really do. And I gotta believe, I know he's in a slump right now. I gotta believe that Bear Jones is going to get definitely some more at bats and see if he can work out of this slump. But this weekend was awesome. It was really good to see. Again, lesser opponent, understand it. But here's what you saw. You saw Ty Floyd get a start on Saturday. Outside of the solo shot, looked phenomenal, looked dominant, had command, and his two changeup balls. I mean, they were working for him. His two slower pitch balls, they were working for him. Then you had Thatcher Hurd come in on Monday, and he was dominant. He struck out the first 6 batters, just completely dominated what you've been wanting to see out of Thatcher Hurd. I mean, just amazing. Okay, I finally got it. Off speed. Why could I not think of that word?
Off speed.
The 2 off speed pitches for Ty Floyd were working. He was locating very well on Saturday. Thatcher Hurd shined. You gotta believe going into next weekend, you're going to see Skeens on Friday. Saturday, you're going to see Floyd, and then Sunday, you're going to see Thatcher Hurd. And maybe you see Chase Shores on Sunday. He's the first one to come in after Thatcher Hurd starts. But that's what I've got to believe. It's been a great weekend, honestly, overall, outside of the few players that we mentioned that are in slumps right now and kind of stayed in some slumps. Bryce Collins, Bear Jones, those guys, and Griffin Herron a little bit. Those guys kind of struggled this weekend. I understand it, but the rest was phenomenal. So, Reagan, I'll shut up. What did you think about this weekend?
Well, first of all, I want to address Peyton's comment in here because the logic behind it doesn't make very much sense. The logic behind Peyton, brother, come on now. Let's think it through for a second.
Okay, I'm assuming that this is
he's being sarcastic. Yeah,
he's being sarcastic. I don't know how. Let's see.
I'm talking about this one. Come on, bro. So you're telling me that you want to put Jones and Joe Bear back in the lineup when there's better pitching, when they're striking out and really struggling against the subpar pitching? It does that. I mean, that just don't make sense. If they're struggling against Butler and Central Connecticut and cannot even like I just want you to put the ball in play and not strike out 3-4 times a game. Like, bro, you want to put them back in the lineup when there's better pitching over the guys who are hitting the subpar. Like, that just doesn't make sense, dude. That just doesn't make sense. As of right now, these are the guys who are hitting. These are the guys who are hitting against the lesser pitching. If it's lesser pitching and there's guys that are really, really struggling, then when it comes to good pitching, it's probably going to get worse. So come on, use a little logic behind that there. Jeez.
Now, the Golden Boot made a good point. We'll continue to harp on this. We have, but he said, I am late for the great Jordan Thompson praise. A lot of people owe him
he deserves praise.
He was great this week. He was great this weekend defensively. Continued to not. He still doesn't have an error. Continue to play great defense, and he's a guy that he doesn't pop. When he's hitting the ball, he's not. He's not like Dylan Cruz.
He do it every now and then.
He's not like Gavin Dugas where he's getting homered. I mean, he does have one on the season, but he's consistent. He's hitting over 350 right now, which is great. So it feels like you don't see the production out of him, but there's clearly production.
Always.
He's hitting over 350.
And the fielding, guys, the fielding, I don't like we all talked about it. Like, we want to see the fielding improve. And I don't know if it's being talked about enough. Zach, you are fielding third best in the country right now.
Which I don't know I don't know where you got that stat, but I listened to Chris Demui's 60-foot 6-inch LSU pod today, and he stated that right now they're tied with I think Tennessee for third in the country fielding. Which, I mean, considering what you did last year, how amazing of a jump is that?
Yeah, and what's so crazy to me is the 3 errors. One of them was a pitcher, like not an everyday fielding. One of them was a bunt that probably should have rolled foul that Trey Morgan got a little jumpy on. And then the other one was your backup second baseman, Gavin Guidry, in like the bottom of the 8th or like the top of the 8th inning, like late game, didn't matter.
Which, speaking of Gavin Guidry, holy cow, phenomenal job pitching Friday night. No,
Gavin Guidry looked great.
On side note, but awesome.
Yeah, he did. And it was fun to just watch him on the mound. I mean, go from, you seeing him in a backup like second base, shortstop, something roll, and then him come in and do that. Yeah, that was really cool. But yes, Jordan Thompson deserves all the praise. His defense has been phenomenal. Been great at the plate. So yes, he deserves the praise, and we all owe him an apology for doubting him and bashing him a little bit last year. He's been great. And Zach, I think the lineup that we listed, if it continues to be consistent, can be absolutely dangerous. Yep. Look, I'm not saying Jones and Joe Bear never come back in the lineup again. That is not what we're saying. We know what Jones and Joe Bear can do, but both of them are very similar. They're big guys with big power, but they have a huge gap in their swing, and they get down in counts early, and every now and then they run into a ball. That is how Joe Bear was last year. His average was well below 300, but he ran into a few balls and he was streaky. We want consistent hitting. I don't want just 10 home runs, but you're batting 230 and you're not producing when there's runners on the base. When there's run on the bases, Zach, there's been multiple times when Joe Bear has come up to bat and he's had runners in scoring position and he just has not executed. He has, like, with less than 2 outs, you need to be just at least put the ball in play. Hit a routine fly ball. Like, get a ground ball, turn the ball over. But when you're not putting the ball in play at all, you are not producing even when you're out. You can't stay in the lineup. If you're just striking out 2, 3, 4 times a game, you're not producing in any way. Look, right now, Zach, until Tommy White gets healthy, I want Napolt over at third base because he's going to be a better defender than Joe Bear is. And Napolt, even though his batting average is really low, he puts the ball in play. He gets sacrifice ground balls, a sacrifice fly ball, something. And then last night, of course, I know it was late in the game when he came in and whatnot, but he throw the ball out in the gap. Like, he puts the ball in play. And I would rather someone be in the lineup who puts the ball in play than someone who does not. So
Joe Bear just seems like that just seems weird to me, him at third base. Like, when I saw that, I was like,
yeah,
what?
I mean, he turned a double play and wasn't bad. I mean, he hadn't committed an error. But in terms of his offense, I just don't think you can keep him in the lineup. I just don't think you can.
I don't think it's justifiable right now. And hopefully we see him be a little bit more consistent with his approaches at the bat than just be swing and miss. Because I know they've worked
a lot of swing and miss.
They have worked on that with him a lot this offseason. And so I'm hoping that, because he's a guy that when the production is there, like, you're going to put him in over Napolt, no doubt.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there.
He gets streaky, and he'll hit like 3 home runs in the matter of 2 games.
Just a little bit more consistency, and not even just a little bit more consistency hitting the ball, but just less of striking out, less of not even putting the ball into play. Like if he's able to, put the ball into play a lot more, and the same thing with Bear Jones, put the ball into play and see what happens. Whether it's, like you said, getting a sacrifice or moving guys over or driving up a pitch count or whatever. You get on base because it's an error.
Yes.
Like just put the ball in play. Stop. I feel like a lot of the times what I've seen with Joe Bear and with Bear Jones is they are chasing low and away a lot. They chase low and away a lot. You saw it with Joe Bear last season. You see it with Joe Bear this season, and you're seeing it with Jones this season. They chase low and away a lot. They've got to stop getting themselves down in the pitch count so quickly because they do. It feels like they get up there and they're 0-2, 1-2, just like that, like immediately. Like they need to do a better job of working the pitch count and just getting balls into play. And if they're able to do that, they're going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, and we know what Jared Jones can do, but I think he can get back on track. I really do. And Jared Jones, I think, eventually deserves a spot in this lineup. And I think he'll be a consistent spot in this lineup. But right now he's sitting at 18 strikeouts, on the season with 35 at-bats. You're literally talking about striking out more than half the time right now. More than half the time right now. And Joe Bear is about 1/3. Like he's had, I think it was like 36 at-bats, and he struck out 10 times. That you're almost a third striking out. Like and you just can't do that. So right now, Cade has come in. He has hit. He was 5 for 7 off the bench. 5 for 7.
6 of 8,
or 6 of 8.
6 of 8.
And then he comes in in his first start and gets 2 hits, and he's on the base 3 times, and he flashed some leather last night. Like this is a guy. A few years ago, we were thinking, okay, he's gonna be in the lineup his entire career, and he dealt with some injury. And he's finally battled back, and he's here swinging the bat like out of his mind. So,
like he was when he was a freshman.
For the time being, Cade Beloso should be your first base. Yep. Like until Jared Jones or Joe Bear gets back on track, he's your guy. And so you need consistent production, and that is what he is giving you right now. It's what he's giving you over Jared Jones right now, and so. That's what I see when I think of Cade Beloso starting over him or Napolt starting over Joe Bear is production.
Peyton said, he said, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious if y'all change it. I like Cade over Joe Bear. Just don't like Trey Lance. Hey, and look, I understand that, but as of right now,
Trey's phenomenal at first. Trey is phenomenal at first.
Trey's phenomenal at first. I can't disagree with that, Peyton. Like, and I said it earlier. Our lineup, you can move Trey to first, put Cade at the DH spot, and then put Joe Bear. If he's the one you have in the lineup, put him in the outfield, and I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally fine with that. It's the same lineup. So either way, you just gotta have Cade in there right now. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. If you want to put Trey at first, fine, but have Cade in the lineup. He needs to be in the lineup. If he ain't at first, then he needs to be at DH.
Look, if Cade ends up like slipping and like it just isn't working out, work one of them back in. But when Tommy White is healthy at the very current moment, to maximize your batting lineup, to maximize production, Trey has to stay in left because you sure ain't going to put Cade Beloso out in left field, right? Like, to maximize what you can do at the plate and score more runs and win more games, which is the goal. The goal at the end of the game is to score more runs than another team. If that means maximizing your lineup, putting Trey out in left field, I'm okay with it right now. I really am, because he other than the very first time he was out there in Round Rock and he ran to the wall, guys, Trey has made some. I mean, he is doing in left field what he's been doing at first base his whole career.
Didn't he have like the diving catch? Was it on Friday? Or
he's had like 3 of them, dude. Yeah. He's had like 3 of them. I mean, he's playing great. And so, I would rather him be out there than Joe Bear, because Joe Bear has shown that he can be a liability out in left field. So if you're kind of questionable in the outfield and you're striking out a third of the time, right? This is, guys, like, we're not trying to name. I don't want to name call at all. Like, we know that Joe Bear has some special power, and Jared Jones. Jared Jones is a true freshman. Like, he's a true freshman, and what he has done so far has been great. He's just going to have to work his way back in the lineup, grow and mature as a player, because he's a true freshman, and they both are extremely talented. But the reality is, Zach, dude, this is a very, very stacked lineup, and it is going to be very hard to stay in it consistently unless your name is Trey Morgan, Dylan Cruz, and Jordan Thompson. Trey Morgan, Dylan Cruz, Jordan Thompson, Gavin Dugas. You don't really know if your spot is absolutely guaranteed, so you got to come out and do it every darn day. And the reality is, those two have not. Like, we're trying to win championships, so we want what is best producing. What he is, and what he's doing right now, Jay, is putting a lineup out that's going to produce the most. Now, I honestly think we're going to continue to see Joe Bear at third. I think we're going to continue to see that. I'm really curious to see what happens tomorrow night after Joe Bear has really kind of struggled a little bit. I wonder if Napolt gets the start over him. But the reality is, Zach, like, you're going to have to compete all year long in this line because it's so talented. We talked about it from day one, off season. Once we got all these transfers in, we got all these freshmen in, dude, there's 9 spots. There is only 9 spots. So you got to bring your best to make this lineup. It is the best offensive lineup in the country by far. Zach, we were putting in the lineup 7 or 8 guys all weekend long that were hitting 300 or better. Like, you really got to be on your stuff if you want to stay in this lineup consistently, because there's dudes knocking behind the door, trying to get your spot, wanting some playing time, trying to get their innings in, trying to get their reps in, because the reality is it's a super talented team. So you got to lock it in, and you got to play consistently, or they're going to try something else. And right now, I think that's what you're doing.
Sorry about that. Dad tried to call me like 3 times. FaceTime.
All good.
All good. Yeah, I have to agree with you. So let's get into tomorrow night, because tomorrow night is a little interesting regarding the pitching. I do agree with you. I'm interested to see who will start at third base. Will they continue with Joe Bear, or will they put in Napolt? It seems like they are going to throw Riley Cooper. I'll tell you what, though, I would love to see Nate Ackenhausen start and see how long he can go again. We had him on the show. He looked phenomenal. I'm not just saying that because he came on the show. Like, I genuinely would love to see him go and start because and he may be one of those guys where it's like Riley Cooper, where you really just prefer him to come out of the pen. But look, I mean, Skeens is a righty, Thatcher Hurd is a righty, Ty Floyd is a righty. So it'd be good to have a really solid left-handed starting pitcher. And I would love to see somebody like a Nate Ackenhausen, maybe Riley Cooper. I just really believe that Riley Cooper is better coming out of the pen. I think he is just so much more valuable coming out of the pen.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, but look, Garrett Edwards, dude. I tweeted about him. Dude, he looked great this weekend. He came in bases juiced, no outs. And in that situation, what do you have to have?
Strikeout.
A strikeout. And he came in, he threw, I think, 3 or 4 pitches. He recorded the
velo
strikeout.
was way up.
And then
way up.
And then, and his velo's up. And then he got the ground ball to produce a double play, and then it was over. I'd be interested to also see him get a start. Now, I know you're probably not going to see that tomorrow night because he played, I think, what was it, 2-3 innings the other day. So you probably don't see him come in and start. But look, I would love to see him get a start. I think Christian Little we saw it against Texas. We saw him come in. I think, was it last night or was it? No, it wasn't last night. When was it? Whenever they
come in 2 games in a row, I think.
They put it in as a kind of save opportunity because you were trying to preserve.
He's looking like the closer.
The 10-run rule. Seems like he is kind of, become the closer there. So I'm going to take him off the list of potential, 4 starter. And obviously you have Chase Shores, but Chase Shores is not going to go tomorrow. So, I mean, Reagan, who would you like to see? I think, 4 guys that you do have, obviously Skeens, Floyd, Hurd, and Shores. Is there another guy that, because we were talking, you got 5 games, 6 days, who's going to be the starters? We've seen the 4 we expected. So who's the 5th one for you tomorrow night against Lamar?
Well, honestly, I think it's Riley Cooper, and that's the guy I want to see. I think he's your next best option at starter in terms of experience and what he can do. Left-handed pitcher, but like Zach, this is the way this has played out with this 4-game weekend schedule. Is I think now you start to see the transition. Like you're probably going to see Riley pitch the midweek, and then I think you see him in the weekend coming out of the pen, and then I think Chase Shores becomes your midweek guy because, really it seems like Skeens, Floyd, and Hurd separated themselves this weekend. So I think that Cooper really is your 4th guy or 5th, 5th. And I think he gets the start tomorrow night, and I think he should. And I think because of this schedule, it will now work him into the pen. I think that it's kind of played out perfectly for them. Yeah. They really, Jay Johnson and Wes Johnson have really handled this well. The way they have played it out with the first few weekend series, putting Hurd in the midweek, letting him pitch against Texas, kind of work his way in. He pitched, then you had the 4-game stretch, so you pitch Hurd on Monday. So
it was very on purpose.
Yes, then you work.
It wasn't like, let's try things out here and put right. It was a very on purpose thing.
And then Riley works into the midweek for this week, and then I think you'll see him in the pen. And that Monday game sets Hurd up to come and pitch on this next coming Sunday and kind of start that rotation as you head toward, because this is your last weekend before SEC play, and it starts to head that way with those 3 guys in the weekend rotation come SEC play. So I think it's Riley. I think it's Riley Cooper because I think that's been the plan.
So Ryan brings up money. And I wanted to say this because I thought about it the other day. This is insane, dude. This is insane when you compare last year to this year.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Blake Money last year was your Friday night guy.
Opening day. Eventually Blake Money was.
Eventually, but for a good part of the season, he was your Friday night ace.
Well,
and now he hardly sees the field out of the pen.
That is the difference. Yeah.
That is the difference in LSU's pitching staff this year.
Absolutely.
You went from a guy who was going to be your who started as your Friday night ace last year, and this year doesn't even see the field hardly at all. And I think Blake Money's a good pitcher. I'm not taking anything away from him. This is all a credit to the job that the staff has done in fixing this pitching staff with the starting rotation and the bullpen. Phenomenal job by what they've done. But yeah, I think we could see Money as well. I think he's the guy you probably see in the midweek games a lot. So we'll see. We also did not see Will Helmers this weekend, who had a really good weekend. I don't think we saw Will Helmers at all.
I think he warmed up. I think he was warming up.
He did not go into the game.
He didn't go in though.
Game.
You're right.
Maybe we see him tomorrow night. That'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Riley Cooper gets the nod. I would love to see Nate Ackenhausen get a start at some point in a midweek at the very least. I know he wants to, potentially maybe get a start. I think he's earned that from the last two outings, at least a look there. But we'll see what they do. They may value him in the pen a lot more. Reagan, let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, we can discuss LSU women's basketball. Maybe we can recap a little bit more baseball, but specifically discuss women's basketball, everything that happened this weekend or this past week, I should say, in the SEC tournament, and then moving forward.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Back at it. Here to discuss the last segment here, Zach. Last little tidbit on baseball, and then we'll get into it, Zach. Lamar is a solid team. This will be a very good midweek game. Lamar beat A&M. Now, A&M doesn't seem to be as good as they were last year, but Lamar, the last I saw, they were undefeated, but that may have changed.
2 games. They've lost 2 games.
Okay. I was about to say last I saw they were like 7-0, but that was when they were 7-0, and it had been a while since then. So, but still a solid baseball team that you can't sleep on. Coming in tomorrow night, you got to come out, you got to be ready, or you get surprised and take a quick L. So got to be ready at all times when it comes to college baseball, because anybody can beat anybody on any night. Right. So, Zach, the women's basketball SEC tournament, just to kind of recap that real quick, really didn't end the way you wanted it to. I mean, obviously they won their first game and advanced against Georgia to play Tennessee in the semifinals, and you lose there. Zach, really disappointing loss. I mean, I'm not upset, but I mean, it was a disappointing loss from, I think, 2 ways. Number one, you had a big lead. You had a big lead, and you gave it up.
Yeah,
17 points, and you gave it up. And it absolutely makes me sick when a referee essentially determines an outcome the way that it did. In that moment, when you make a call like that, you practically handed Tennessee the game. I mean, you ended the game, and it is very clear. I mean, I think there was a little bit too much from Angel Reese with her arm. I think she could have done a little bit less, and I think that's why it drew the call. But very clearly had beat her to the spot. The Tennessee player was was behind her, essentially, had not gotten to the spot first, was moving the entire way. I mean, everybody,
And there was a
even the
reach-in foul
commentator.
before that call.
Yeah,
The guard, the really good player, number 2 for Tennessee, the guard came over and just swiped her on the arm. No call.
and the reality is though, as irritating as that final call was, it should not have happened. It should not have happened.
Correct.
You had a big
not
lead.
On the refs.
You should have. Yeah,
not on the refs.
It makes you sick when something like that happens, but the reality is, it's on you because you had a big lead and you should have sustained the big lead, but you didn't, and you live with it and you move forward. You lose one game in a semifinals and you drop 5 spots apparently in the AP poll. I'm hoping that the NCAA does not screw LSU in seeding this Sunday. I think they're going to be a 2 seed because of this. It's just kind of crazy that you have the greatest or match your greatest regular season record ever with 1 loss, and somehow you're a 2 seed. But anyways, anyways, that's.
I think they have to. I think LSU
If they're a 3 seed, it's absurd.
If they're a 3 seed, I will lose my
It's
mind.
absurd.
I will lose my mind if they're a 3 seed. I really will. I think LSU though, maybe there has to be some respect earned by NCAA and the committee, and maybe so because they kind of earned some respect last year, and now seems like they're there. Maybe next year they start to get a little bit more respect if they continue the success, which they will because they're going to be bringing back a lot. I mean, you won't have Alexis Morris, you won't have LaDazia Williams, but you're bringing back you're bringing back your best player, Angel Reese. Yeah. So I think next year maybe they'll be respected a little bit more. I did think 9 was just absurd to drop them to. I have to agree with that. And look, the other thing that blew my mind, you cannot tell me that Angel Reese is not a top 15 women's college basketball player. Wooden Award watch list or whatever, whoever is in charge of these committees, you screwed up royally. Now, I am going to be pissed about this. I'll be pissed if they put him as a 3 seed, but I am already pissed off about this. Angel Reese was arguably the best player in college basketball. Now, I get you got Aaliyah Boston over at South Carolina. I get you got the Clark girl over at Iowa.
Iowa, yeah.
I get you got those 2 girls, and they very much deserve the praise that they were 2 that were there, right?
Yeah.
But Angel Reese is up there with those 2 girls, and you're telling me she was not a top, not just top 3. She wasn't a top 15 on the list? Are you stupid? Like, do you even watch the games? Do you even look at the stats? Or do you just go, oh yeah, they're a blue collar. Put their best player on the list. Like, and maybe that's why I'm saying LSU has to earn the respect a little bit because of that. Like, but are you just not watching at all? Like, do you not keep up with any awards at all? Like,
apparently not.
Apparently not. Apparently you're just oblivious to what's going on in the SEC outside of South Carolina. Just blew my mind. Absolutely absurd and just downright stupid. Just stupid that Angel Reese was not in the top 15. I would understand if it was like top 5. Like maybe then I'd be like, okay, I guess I kind of understand. Top 15? You're stupid. You're stupid. Period. It was a complete robbery that Angel Reese did not make the top 15 for the Wooden Award.
It's really a robbery. She didn't make top 5. I mean, for being honest.
Ridiculous. And I love how she responded. She came to Twitter and she said, bet. She just tweeted bet.
Yeah.
Watch out.
That seems to be her MO. It seems to be her MO about things. When Aaliyah Boston won SEC Player of the Year, everybody's like, okay, like we get it, but also the statistics are there with Angel Reese. I mean, the stats are overwhelmingly. I mean, I think the physical dominance of Aaliyah Boston is undeniable. But the statistics of Angel Reese are also very undeniable as well. I mean, 29 double doubles now? 28?
Something like that. 28, I think.
28 double doubles in 29 games, and you're not. Anyways, you're absolutely right. It's absurd, but you move on. You take it on the chin. You really wanted to play. I really wanted to see them play South Carolina again in the championship Sunday and maybe play a little bit of a closer game than it was in Columbia.
You saw the result, though.
You saw the result. It is what it is. You move on. Look, and I think they've handled it well. They're, Angel Reese was like, it's still go Tigers. Alexis Morris was like, hey, it's tournament time. Let's go. Once you get to March Madness time, once you get into the big boy tournament, the big dance, it's all on the line. It's win or go home. It is what it is. And you know what? LSU's got a really talented team. They're going to be a great seed. You're going to host at least a few games, I'm pretty sure. So really looking forward to seeing what they can do in the tournament and see how far they can get, because LSU is one of the best teams in the country, and I really think that they could make a deep run this year. I don't think they win it this year, but I do think they can make a deep run, and I'm really looking forward to watching it, because March Madness is always fun. Zach, in other basketball news, I think we need to mention it. KJ Williams was listed second team All SEC. He earned his honors. I think it was well deserved. KJ, regardless of what the record was faithful to this team
his whole season.
Played his butt off all season long, even though it was a tough stretch of losses. He came out every night and put up great numbers. Played hard, played with heart. So the respect is due. He's second team All SEC, and I think he deserved it. Zach, the men actually play tomorrow night. SEC tournament starts for them against Georgia at 8:00. I'll be watching it. Maybe they can make a little run in this SEC tournament and finish the season off strong. I mean, we're really looking toward the off season and see how that plays out. But for the sake of the players and for the sake of the program, I mean, and me as a fan, like I want to see them win. Like I don't care
for sure
about what the record is or what I want to see them win. So Wednesday night when they tip off against Georgia, I'll be watching and I'm gonna be pulling for them. It's SEC tournament, and I'd like to see them make a little run. Maybe play a few games close. I don't know. Make some noise a little bit and then go out with heart. So I think that's about all you can do this year. I mean, that's all you can do. So, anyways, those are my thoughts on the women's SEC tournament and the men's basketball tournament. Best of luck to the men's. It's up in Nashville. Really, I was kind of set on going this year, but obviously with how it's played out, I'm not gonna spend my money and go over there. I will definitely watch them, but I'm definitely not going to spend that kind of money to go over there and watch that. So best of luck to the Tigers, though, in Nashville. We'll be pulling for you regardless of what happens. Zach, you got any more thoughts on that, or we need to hit our last break and then come back and wrap it up?
I'll say our last break, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue, for daily updates on the show and all things LSU sports. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
All right, guys, been a great show. Appreciate all y'all coming in here and commenting and interacting. As always, it's always fun. It's a great time to be a Tiger. LSU baseball is in full swing. Really looking forward to SEC play kicking off in just a short amount of time. So it's good. I think we have a great start. People are like, man, this is a daunting, first three series in the SEC. And at the beginning of the season, I would have said absolutely. But now, you've kind of played a few games, and Texas A&M isn't really what everybody thought they were going to be. Tennessee, isn't what they used to be. Completely new. Tennessee, if y'all have not looked yet, is a completely new team. Completely new. Other than the pitchers, I think Blake Burke, their first baseman, is their only returner from last year that had like 100 at-bats or something like that. So completely remade team. So I think you actually have a great start to the SEC play. You go to College Station, which will be a great road series to open up SEC play against a team, that isn't, daunting, like let's say going to Florida right now or to Ole Miss or something like that. And then you get a tough task, but they come to you in Arkansas, and then you'll see Tennessee. So I really like the way the SEC schedule is shaping up, because you're going to be tested on the road, but not a too scary of opponent in Texas A&M. And then you have a top 10 opponent in Arkansas coming to Baton Rouge. I really like the way that has played out. So I'm looking forward to that in the next couple of weeks. Best of luck to all the Tigers. Sunday will be selection day for the women. Really going to be watching to see how it falls and plays out, and who they will be playing against once the tournament starts. Looking forward to that. Hey, pull for your Tigers tomorrow night. They're playing against Georgia. Turn the game on. Give them a watch. Support them. We're LSU fans. Win, lose, do or die, we're going to pull for them. So turn it on. Cheer for the Tigers. Maybe, just maybe, they'll get out in Nashville with at least one dub. With at least one. We'll see tomorrow night, though. All right, guys. We got all those games and all these things that are about to play out within this next week, and we'll always be discussing it here in the Tigers Avenue next episode. We'll see you next time. 5-Star Hero, take us out. Peace.
Who that 5-star? And the LSU Tigers, LSU Tigers.